Greetings and welcome to my YouTube channel where tonight or today or whatever it is when you're watching, I'm going to be talking about Barry Neufeld and the fact that he was just fined $750,000. That's three-quarters of $1 million. Get down, Max, my dog. 750 grand because he affirms two genders. He has publicly expressed the opinion that his view of the world is that humanity consists of two genders, male and female. And the reason he has been fined $750,000 is because the BC, British Columbia Teachers Federation, said that he was causing harm to LGBTQ, etc., members of their federation. He's a former school trustee, something of a public figure, I guess. And so his opinion about a binary nature to gender caused damage to LGBTQ teachers. And so the $750,000 represents the BC Teachers Federation. Get away, Max. The BC Teachers Federation, their legal costs in presenting this, their point of view, and on top of that, a fine. I believe so. I think it's 740,000 in legal costs, and an additional 10 grand in punitive damages for the harm that he has caused to the LGBTQ teachers. Help me out here. Help me out here. Now, they specifically said that it represents what is being deemed are you ready? Existential denialism. And I recognize that a lot of people may hear a term like existential or existentialism, denialism, and it can fog the mind. So it's such jargon. What is existentialism? What does this mean? And I first confronted it in school in studying the novel, J.D. Salinger's famous novel, Catcher in the Rye. And existentialism is the notion that there is no truth, there is no God, there's no ultimate truth, there's no ultimate purpose to life. Existentialism has been called a philosophy of despair, and it basically holds that it's incumbent upon each individual to find their own truth, their own meaning, their own purpose. There's no unifying principle, there's no God. So there's no meaning to life, there's no purpose. Life, and hence why it is referred to as a philosophy of despair. And what I see happening with this ruling by the BC Human Rights Tribunal is that they are codifying that one has to affirm, one has to embrace existentialism, the idea that life is meaningless. Basically, they are holding that transgender individuals, whether teachers or otherwise, that they are entitled to project their reality on the rest of society. And if you deny their subjective existential reality, then you are guilty of existential denialism. And now we have a precedent set by this tribunal, kangaroo court, I would call it, stating that if I deny what someone sees as their existential reality, then I can be financially crushed by the state. $750,000 would wipe out the majority of the Canadian population. Not everyone goes to Davos, Switzerland, and sits at WEF and has billions of dollars in the bank and can write a check for 750 grand. This is scary. This is scary, and it speaks to the direction that Canada is going. I want to remind anyone watching that within the preamble to Canada's Constitution, and I'm going to implore you to fact check me on this, Canada's preamble to our Constitution, the highest law of the land, recognizes that Canada, as a nation, that we recognize the supremacy of God. Those we recognize. I pulled it up. Whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. It's a very short preamble, nothing like the US preamble that goes on forever. Ours, one little sentence, and I'll read it again. Whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. Now, would I, myself, my opinion, suggest that because it's in our Constitution that no Canadian should be allowed to express a view that runs contrary and should not be allowed to deny God's existence? No. Even as a professing Christian, I recognize that we live in a liberal democratic society. And I use liberal, the big L liberal, not the small L. Classic liberalism that holds to the principles, the beliefs, the ideals of freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Barry Neufeld is being denied that because he is not going along with the beliefs of a minority of the population who hold that my identity is divorced from objective reality. Objective reality with this whole transgender ideology holds that objective reality doesn't matter. Your chromosomes don't matter. Your XY doesn't matter. You have a penis and testicles, vas deferens, and everything else, all the other sexual organs that are present in the male gender. Well, I that's not who I am. That's not my inner subjective feeling. And now and that's fine. I don't have an issue at this point. If someone wants to express it, someone can call themselves the King of France, for all I care. We live in a free and democratic society. If someone wants to be in the circus, be in the circus. You're allowed. But don't ask me to buy a ticket. And I put out some songs, just some little things that came into my head, expressing some views. One's called Transgender Kids. You can check it out, it's on here. And I'm wondering, am I, at some point, I am not a public figure. I mean, I am to the extent that I have a YouTube channel, but my channel is a miserable, pathetic little 1,300 or so subscribers, and I'm my footprint is about pretty darn small. Barry Neufeld, I'd never heard of him before. I imagine that most people had not, unless you live in Chilliwack, BC. And even then, how many people can name a school trustee in their own town, let alone a former school trustee? But this is incredibly dangerous because it is codifying in law this idea that life is meaningless. Life has no meaning. And you wonder why in Canada, 5% of all deaths in 2025 or 2024, 5% of all deaths in this country are from MAID, medical assistance in dying, in a country that proclaims within its own constitution in the preamble that we recognize the supremacy of God, now we have a judicial body ruling that life is meaningless. And if you do not affirm that, if you do not proclaim that, that if you deny someone else's subjective reality, that we are going to crush, destroy you financially. Canadians, I don't like saying wake up because that gets people's back up, but open your eyes. We are in for dark times, very dark times. Satan, the enemy, he is at work. He is working. He's working in our parliament. He's working in our court system, and he's working at the BC Human Rights Tribunal. That's all I wanted to say. I did go live just because it's easier, but I wanted to explain because existential denialism, what the hell is that? Well, existentialism is a philosophy. So basically, Barry Neufeld is guilty of Orwellian thought crime. That is what he's been fined $750,000 for violating the states. The thought police came after him, and they're crushing the man. I don't imagine that he's a multimillionaire. I don't know. Hopefully, going to pray for you, Mr. Neufeld. I don't even know if he's a professing Christian, but denying the notion that life has a meaning, life has a purpose, that there's a reason behind everything. Now, to deny the philosophy that life is meaningless, if I deny that philosophy and everything that springs from it, then I guess I'm guilty. But Jesus is Lord. Life has a meaning, life has a purpose. We're not Holden Caulfield. That's the main character in Catcher in the Rye, who, that's somewhat the theme of the book. If you're unfamiliar, he's trying to find his meaning, he's trying to find purpose, and there is none. He finds none. He has no God. God does not exist. And leaving the Christian faith aside, the notion that life does have a purpose and a meaning is a central tenet, as far as I know, of every single religion in the world. And so the BC Human Rights Tribunal is at war with religion, is at war with any profession of faith, because whether it be Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, Sikhism, whatever, all the world's religions hold that life does have a purpose and a meaning. They may differ, here and there. Some believe in reincarnation. Some believe, the idea is to achieve nirvana, Buddhism, but there is a meaning. But existentialism holds that there is no meaning aside from whatever you decide it is. And so you have individuals in BC, teachers who were offended by Barry Neufeld's denial of their subjective philosophy on life. Now, just to put a fine point on this, if Barry Neufeld had advocated hating on those who express this philosophy, if he had advocated violence against them or anything of that nature, I wouldn't be doing this video. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing in there about expressions of hatred or of violence. It's merely existential denial of their subjective reality. Scary times. Put your thoughts down below in the comments, if you would. I'd love to hear some. And you've been watching the station. I branded it Act One, a Canadian take on news events. I'm the host, Gordy Canuck, real name Gordon Causey. My little internet sobriquet is Gordy Canuck. And I hope to see you back. If you like the content, the whole YouTube thing, hit the subscribe button, the bell, blah, 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 blah. All right. We'll talk to you later, everyone. I hope you have a great weekend. And God help us all. Take care. God bless. May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord God Almighty make his face to shine upon you, and may he grant you peace. We'll hope to see you back. Take care.